We honored to have Mr. Milind Solanki, Vice President EY. At present, Mr. Milind Solanki is a Vice President at EY, leading the charge in the power and utility sector. With over 13 years of invaluable experience as a technical consultant, Mr. Solanki is a visionary in strategic process renovation and information and operation technology transformations. Mr. Solanki's expertise shines in the realm of IT/OT convergence, where he pioneered groundbreaking solutions. He is at the forefront of shaping the future, with his focus on smart grid solutions, driving innovation and sustainability in the ever-evolving energy landscapes. Mr. Solanki will present talk on digital revolutions. So let's welcome Mr. Solanki.
Utility sector. So I'll just start with a thought that just came up is that imagine a water that talks, energy that predicts your needs, and a grid that hums with intelligence. I think this is basically summarizing what we have been discussing on various solutions and problems and challenges that are plaguing the current utility sector. So coming to the evolution that we have seen of digital in terms of the power and utility sector is basically from the traditional utility ecosystem from the 2000s. We saw a rampant rise in the RES, or the renewable energy sources penetration into the grid. On the physical side, we have the storage, the solar wind, the rise of the prosumer, so as to speak. Electric vehicles have been coming in. Then we are talking about offshore wind, EV charging. All of this, while in the current scenario, on the physical side, is establishing. On the digital side, there has been, a rapid rise in the digital ecosystem, which is also being, complementing the physical assets that have been created, like microgrids platform, blockchain technologies we spoke about. Then an important aspect is again the transactive exchanges which are coming up. There have been so many regulations around, the real time or the round the clock RES, and how energy is being traded at the exchange. Then there is a rapid rise, and a few of the panelists spoke about innovation in the smart grid technologies. Then there are demand response solutions, and then of course the grid storage platforms. Now, while it is very good to have these solutions in place, we also need to have a look at how how the Indian utilities specifically are shaping up. While at a global level, we have a lot of benchmarks to to look at and adopt or adapt practices from. However, in the Indian ecosystem, if you see, the rise of digital has not been at pace of what the OEM industry has probably thought of. Being from the consulting background, while it is our job to go and recommend to our clients of what is best for them and what they can adopt, and how they can embrace digital and stop doing digital and start being digital. But given the range of programs that you mentioned, that in the earlier piece, or around RAPDRP Part A, then IPDS, and then several schemes, and now the most recent scheme, which is revamped distribution sector scheme, which is coming up. We are still at a point where we are trying to install the advanced metering infrastructure, or the smart meters, as far as the distribution goes. We have a lot of renewable energy coming in. Mr. Narang beautifully talked about the kind of challenges it brings, right? In terms of grid stability, we have seen these blackouts globally. While it may not be always attributed to grid inertia, but then we saw the Texas, we saw the South Australian blackout, we saw the UK grid blackout in 2019. So there have been ample examples where, and the most recent example is the Karnataka crisis, where they were forced to invoke a section of the Electricity Act where the generators cannot sell outside or in the exchange and can only supply to the state. So there is a lot of talk. We are embracing renewable. There's a target, but then we are probably not talking about these aspects of how first and foremost the technologies or the technological ecosystem must be built around it, and the utilities should start embracing it in terms of creating the grid, uh, of basically doing the grid modernization, creating the evacuation capacity, adopting initiatives which can enable automation, like one of the co-panelists talked about. Uh, Coming from the system side or the operation side, these are some measures which we feel are very important, because of course when the demand grows, the prices of energy storage will come down. Pumped hydro is something which is seeming viable as of now. We are talking about a lot of renewables, but storage has to complement the renewable evacuation. uh, while all of this is fine from the operation side, at the enterprise level, we see that there is a lot of gap as far as the Indian utility goes. And it starts from their workforce, from the basic adoption of initiatives like ERP. We see that not Indian utilities have, adopted ERP so far. Then there are power distribution utilities where we still see that there is a lack of a unified billing solution, which is not in place. Cyber security, though there have been ample guidelines by CERT-in, CEA, NCIIPC, and all the other agencies which enforce cyber security conformance of both the enterprise as well as critical infrastructure. But we see that that is also something which is being taken up at leisurely at a pace which is not something that would prepare them to embrace cyber attack. And we have seen, though I will not quote, of some of these examples on some of our clients where we were forced to resolve some of these issues. Of course, talking about the in the second last point that I want to touch about is the safety. We have a lot of capital projects which are running because we are augmenting the capacities both in terms of renewables as well as thermal is also coming up because we need that. However, safety is something which is again a growing concern. There is a lot of digital technologies that is in place, but we are not utilizing that. Like smart wearables are there in the market, surveillance is there, drone-based surveillance as well as camera-based surveillance are there, the physical cameras, but using AI and ML, but that is not being done. Uh, Another important point is the data. We are implementing smart metering, we are sensorizing, or we are carrying out sensorization. We are basically implementing consumer centric measures. We are gathering a lot of data. The utilities as well as the regulators do not have a view of how this data can be utilized, both for the utilities to make sense out of it or generate insights or actionable insights to improve the business efficiency and the operational efficiency, also to improve the customer delight or the customer centricity. This is something which is also need of the hour because the utilities are sitting on a lot of data, and with the smart metering program and the other part of the RDSS, which is the distribution infrastructure, there will be a huge inflow of the data which the utilities would be sitting at. And globally, this data is being utilized to carry out initiatives like demand response management. And, basically, again, all of these measures go and somehow sit and improve your grid flexibility, right? Where be it advanced inverter technology, which Mr. Narang spoke about, or grid modernization, or battery energy storage, or demand side management. So both the IT side as well as the OT side, which is the operations technology, we feel that there is a the need of the hour for the Indian power utilities is to embrace and be open about it, create policy around the measures, have a very open dialogue with the OEMs and their innovations, and then prepare a roadmap, because the basic element of having a roadmap or an application level portfolio rationalization is what you see is missing. We design the schemes and then we start implementing it without understanding, what benefits would the scheme enable the utilities to derive. A simple measure like capacity building, which is digitized across. If you look at the COVID, we developed so many learning portals. Byju's became so huge, but in the power sector, we are still looking at a couple of organizations who have still not been able to create an ecosystem of enabling new or advanced SCADA engineers or ADMS professionals, who can themselves handle so that the utility can take over. Lastly, I want to touch about one important aspect is also for the utilities to look at lucrative business models that they need to do. Understand that it's a very tricky subject because it's all government employees and all, but then the private utilities are doing it. Outsourcing is the way, right? Reduce your costs, improve your top line, and be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Solanki, for your excellent talk on digital evolutions.